instructor. I'm giving you a very brief, condensed version of your first chapter, so you can read that briefly and then watch this, and it should pull everything together. So what is sociology? I know we went over our first and only meeting that we've had with the boxes and how to look deeper. Well, that's one angle, and the other one is looking at patterns in society. Humans are extremely predictable as a species, more so than we like to admit. And then digging deeper and finding those more boxes to analyze things on a deeper level. A macro looks at trends among groups and societies and between societies, while the micro looks at small group behavior and individual interactions. So you'll see this when we get to the slide that shows the three big paradigms, the three major paradigms in sociology. So, and it's also a study of cultures and understanding that cultures vary not only among societies, but within societies, and those are called microcultures. So in a historical context, many ancient writings have really bounced around the study of society without really pinning down a specific science to do so, or a discipline. So you go back to the ancient Greek philosophers, Plato, Socrates, etc., and they kind of bounced around what is society, what is what is individual behavior, what do individuals owe the society, and what does the society owe individuals. So those are all concepts that were placed. Confucius did it with a lot of his writings. Voltaire, Locke, Descartes, Hume, Smith, the great Enlightenment writers and philosophers really began to formulate more of looking at what society should look like and how it should function. So some of the more famous or infamous, however you want to look at it, sociologists have been Auguste Comte, and he was actually kind of known as the person who first coined the term sociology, the founder, the actual founder. Although Emile Durkheim is also considered a founder, and he's the one who really gave it shape in a scientific form. He's the one who, and we'll read about this in week 3, and you'll also have to kind of do summaries of those for your first paper, where he looked at the social forces in a society and how they affected individuals. He conducted the first widespread social science experiment on suicide because a friend of his committed suicide. Karl Marx, as we discussed, is vastly misunderstood. He does not want a world where nobody works and everybody just takes money from the government. How would the government get money if nobody worked? No, he looked at a more equitable distribution of wealth to provide the workers with a better compensation for the amount of value that they create in objects that they make, whether that object is artistic, service, or actually manufactured. And workers are not, while they are necessary to any economic system, they are vastly underpaid by most modern, let's call them the bourgeoisie, because that's what Marx calls them. I'm going to skip down to Max Weber, because Max Weber took Marx and expanded on it, and then he also looked at bureaucracy, which was really beginning to form as modern governments began to set up. The modern governments that we know today with, when you think of bureaucracy, you're thinking of institutions that governments provide to help better service the population. So he took Karl Marx's two classes, the proletariat, the owners of the means of the production, or the workers, and the bourgeoisie, who are the owners of the means of production. So the proletariat is everybody who has to go out and earn a paycheck in order to pay their bills. So that means lawyers, doctors, judges, they're all people who are proletariat. Your bourgeoisie are the people like Elon Musk, or the people like Jeff Bezos. Yes, they may have worked in the beginning, but they definitely don't work now. They're also people like the sons, grandsons, and great-grandsons of Henry Ford, or the granddaughter of Walt Disney, who has money, and her money makes tons of money. She doesn't have to worry about money. She's never done anything productive. Look at Paris Hilton. I know that maybe your generation is not terribly familiar with that name, but somebody who is pretty much famous for just being rich. Paris Hilton will never have to worry a day in her life about paying bills or going hungry, or not being able to pay for a car repair. George Herbert Mead really started to analyze and formulate what became known as symbolic interactionism, which is why individuals behave the way they do in a given society. Harriet Martineau developed gender conflict theory, and Herbert Spencer also contributed greatly to the field of sociology, American sociology. So using sociology as a science, and so understand that we social scientists use the same methods in research and developing and formulating a hypothesis, testing that hypothesis, and coming to a conclusion. And then it has to be retestable and come with the same exact results in order to be considered a theory. So some of the big theories or paradigms in sociology, the big three we call them, are on a macro level, functionalism, which was developed by Emile Durkheim, and conflict theory, which was developed by Karl Marx. And then on the micro side, it's symbolic interaction. I mean, it looks at individual behavior in a given society. So why study sociology? Well, even if you're not going to ever take another sociology course, although I hope you take at least one more, whether it's here or at the university level, it can really help your understanding and observation skills and group behaviors. So when you start a new job, you get to sit back and kind of look and examine and watch and observe the dynamics of the relationships between maybe the management class and then the workers, and I'm not saying even in a shop thing, but you're always going to have supervisors, and how those groups interact can really help you fit in better or decide to remove yourself from and find a new job at a given job employment that you have. Each corporation has its own culture, and sociology will help you identify that. Learning to understand and analyze statistics is also very, very important, because statistics can be curved and misconstrued and used in ways that actually promote ideas and concepts that are not the conclusion of a particular study. So that's important. It provides cultural tolerance. Understanding that not only there are different cultures between like the United States and Afghanistan, but even within the United States, there are numerous, hundreds, maybe thousands of, probably thousands of microcultures. Look at Northern Michigan versus Metro Detroit. There's a different culture, not vastly different, but enough to where when I came up here and was told that my kids didn't have school because of Deer Day, and I'm like, what is Deer Day? We never had such a thing. And why I came up here and businesses were not closed for Martin Luther King Day, where downstate in the Metro Detroit area they had been. So it allows you to realize that that we all have these little quirks in individual cultures that we aren't really that terribly different, but to be more empathetic with them. Leadership skills, understanding how groups function, how individuals function, will help you make you a better and hopefully more empathetic leader, and understanding the societal structures and inequalities that exist. And there are institutions in our society that are set up with inequalities, inequities. That's how they function, or dysfunction, if you want to put it that way. Understanding that despite the best intentions of people within those institutions and trying to change them, they remain with vast inequities. That is the understanding of an inequality.